In the opening weeks of his second term, President Donald Trump has wasted no time asserting his authority. His sweeping executive actions have made one thing clear: he is determined to deliver on his campaign promises. Since taking office in January, Trump has implemented a series of bold measures, including halting new asylum claims, ending refugee resettlement, freezing government hiring and spending, dismantling congressional agencies, banning gender transition care for minors, and proposing a federal worker buyout. These unilateral moves have quickly tested the limits of presidential power, sparking legal challenges from Democrats, labor unions, and advocacy groups. Federal courts have already intervened, temporarily blocking some of his most contentious policies, such as his attempt to end automatic birthright citizenship. Despite these judicial setbacks, Trump remains undeterred, setting the stage for a potential constitutional clash with the courts. Just this week, a Rhode Island judge accused his administration of openly defying a court order to release billions in federal funds. However, the White House insists that all executive actions taken so far are completely lawful. If Trump's policies reach the U.S. Supreme Court, he may find a favorable bench. 6 of the 9 justices, including 3 he appointed during his first term, lean conservative. Notably, the court recently expanded presidential immunity, ruling that Trump and future presidents are largely shielded from prosecution for official acts while in office. Legal experts suggest Trump's aggressive approach may be an attempt to push the boundaries of executive power even further. If the Supreme Court upholds his actions, it could grant him unprecedented authority to bypass Congress. But even if courts rule against him, some analysts believe legal defeats could still serve his political agenda. There could be political benefits to being challenged in court and even losing, argues constitutional scholar Ilya Shapiro. It allows him to rally against the judiciary and turn it into a campaign issue. A more dramatic possibility is also emerging. Trump could simply refuse to comply with court rulings that limit his authority. Speaking from the Oval Office on Tuesday, he hinted at this option, saying, "We want to weed out the corruption." And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, "We don't want you to do that." Vice President J.D. Vance was even more direct, stating on social media that judges aren't allowed to control the executive's legitimate power. His remarks echo past statements in which he suggested Trump should ignore judicial orders that block his decisions. Direct defiance of a federal court order would be unprecedented in modern U.S. history and could trigger a constitutional crisis, pitting the president against the judiciary. Emory Law professor Fred Smith warns that Trump is testing the limits of what he can get away with, pushing legal and political boundaries in ways unseen before. While his administration has aggressively challenged court rulings, it has yet to face formal penalties for noncompliance. However, a federal judge in Rhode Island has already signaled that the White House may be violating an injunction on federal spending freezes. Conservative legal scholar Ed Whelan cautions that disregarding a federal court ruling would be a serious and dangerous move. While he acknowledges that extreme circumstances might justify such actions, he argues that the executive branch should generally adhere to judicial decisions. Legal experts also warn that undermining the courts could backfire. If Trump dismisses rulings he opposes, he may find judges less willing to enforce those that align with his policies. Democratic-led states, for instance, could start ignoring federal directives they disagree with, creating a chaotic legal landscape. When Trump redecorated the Oval Office in January, he restored a portrait of President Andrew Jackson, just as he had in his first term. Jackson famously defied the Supreme Court in 1832, allegedly responding to a ruling by saying, "John Marshall has made his decision. Now let him enforce it." Nearly 2 centuries later, Trump may be on a similar collision course with the American judiciary.